Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 15 of What If Naruto Was a Legendary Neglected Uzumaki. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto is Abandoned and Awaken Kiki Genkai over in Anime King 2 and enjoy that guys. And he also posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto had the ultimate nature bloodline over an Anime King 3. If you're new, yes, you heard that correctly. I did have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Hiruzen had an interesting chat with Naruto, and once again, he couldn't tell what Naruto was thinking. And perhaps he may have strained the relationship that he had a bit too far, because Naruto refused to get married towards the Mizukage, so that they could get the relationship between Konoha and Kira strong, as Naruto said that he refused to do anything like that, even though Hiruzen saw it as a good way to get Konoha ready for the upcoming challenges. Naruto didn't seem to care. Once again, he was reminded that Naruto didn't have the same principles as Itachi or his father. With that, Naruto made his way back as he was speaking to Izumi. As she sat down with him, Itachi didn't arrive, as the both of them needed to talk. But before they could talk, a woman then flashed beside Naruto as she was wearing a mask. Itachi did not know about any special envoy for the Uzumaki, so this was rather surprising after all. Recently, they said that their power was depleted after the Akatsuki went after the Sealant Core, so this was quite a shock. Naruto had to call his meeting short as he made his way deep under the Uzumaki temple outside the outskirts of the village. Was where the Kyuubi resided, well, half of it anyway, as they had to split it to contain it. It was too powerful to be contained by a single seal once it was in its full entity. As Danzo root members are down there, they just came there to speculate as Naruto battled with them a quick fight against Torun. As Torun was able to touch Naruto as Naruto noticed something about his arm, but for now, he just didn't focus on that as he managed to place a seal on his arm, making his way as he spoke to Kurama for a bit. As the fox was working on getting free from here, this would not hold him for much longer. And Naruto did not visit down here often, so he was given more time to make his escape. As Danzo called a meeting, as Danzo found out as Naruto spoke to Kushina. As Danzo told the council members, who was all panicking, Shikaku raised a good point as the beast had been kept safe in there for a while now. But Shikaku looked towards Danzo, who had to come up with something else as the man wanted to use the beast in the upcoming war. But none of them wanted to give up their children. They were all selfish, and yet they spoke about doing betterment for Konoha, so Naruto simply said that he would become the Jinchuriki. They were not against that because they would not give up their own children to contain that beast. And yet, the people who hated the Kyuubi would scorn that child. So these people were rather hypocritical as the way they acted. The strange thing was Danzo did not disagree with that. On his way meeting Naruto outside, he told Naruto that he knew about the infection, as Torun had touched Naruto as a strange bug had got on his skin. As Danzo told Naruto that he was the only one that had the antidote, he knew that Naruto did not care about the Nine Tails, so handed it over to him and he would give him the antidote. With that, Danzo made his way. As Naruto made his way towards Izumi, his 2 hands were already wrapped in bandages as they were burned after a test note of his ability, something he was practicing on. And now he was poisoned, as she asked him if he was going to become the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, given the fact that he accepted the role. So yeah guys, so basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. Did you offer to become the Jinchuriki? Said Izumi. As Naruto nodded, of course I don't plan to go through with that. I just have to stall until the nuisance is taken care of. I get the feeling that most of the clan heads don't care for me. They are willing to throw me into the work then, at first opportunity. You don't win any awards for your personality of the year, she said. But that don't justify anything. It should not matter because you're not planning on going through with it. However, what if they force you to do so? As Naruto simply shrugged, if things get to that point, I will make a decision that benefit me. But unfortunately, I don't have the same view as many people that Konoha must come first. You know, I always wonder what will happen when you're in a situation where you need to provide an immediate answer. You're a bit careless for your own good, she said. More to person matters seeing that you're not worried about the Kyuubi. What about your hand? Get me a medic to look it over. I can't go to the hospital, said Naruto. Danzo also said the poison will eat my hand, and only he has the antidote. If I want to get healed, I just have to go to him with the Kyuubi, and I would get the supply of the antidote. Do you think you'd really do that if you gave him the Kyuubi? Asked Izumi. Naruto nodded. I'm too much of a valuable asset to Konoha for them to allow me to become useless, said Naruto. In any case, go get me that medic. I need this fixed before I get anxious. You have no plans to give Danzo the Kyuubi. What will happen if you lose your hand, she asks. Nothing. I have learned how to execute jutsu's one-hand signs, so it should not affect my ninjutsu. It will even make my fame more tremendous when people learn that I was crippled. But that is not what I'm looking for, he said. A disadvantage like that will get me killed if it is discovered. Earlier, at the Hokage's office, Hiruzen watched as Naruto walked away. There was so much that needed to be discussed, but yet, he couldn't stop the redhead in his retreat. They had to talk to him about his choice to become a Jinchuriki, but neither of the two adults seemed to have the energy to stop him from leaving. They all just stared at him. It was very clear to them even if they told him to stop, he would not. He didn't want to talk about it any further, and somehow, he just dismissed them all with that. As Hiruzen wondered what happened between Naruto and Danzo, for Danzo to be so silent after his plans failed. Danzo was no doubt looking for the Kyuubi, and he would not rest until he get it. Then there was a battle going on that he had missed. He need the details before deciding what to do about the situation. He need to solve this quickly before Danzo get hold of the Bichu, because if that happened, it wouldn't be good. Am I the only one thinking there's a possibility of Naruto giving the Kyuubi to Danzo? Hiruzen says he took a seat. Jiraiya popped out of nowhere, like he was waiting for the right opportunity as he spoke. He would do so, he said. Naruto is too indifferent about many things in life, even Konoha. What Danzo do with the Kyuubi would not concern him, unless it affected him. But with the way Danzo went about it, there was no way that Naruto was going to give Danzo the Kyuubi. As Jiraiya did not believe that Naruto would do something like that, as selfish as he was, the redhead prided himself on never being forced into a situation that he didn't want to be forced into. As Fukaku nodded in agreement. That is my thought as well, he said. I have only been gone for a couple of days, and Danzo is already on the move. Can't you handle things without me? He said. As Minato shrugged, it is merely a coincidence that Danzo made a move after you left the village, and I don't think that you would have known about this. No one would have seen it coming, but it has happened and we need to solve it. But I'm not worrying on that much though. I'm worried about the upcoming war. That is a bigger problem. I have my doubts about Naruto, but if you're not worried, then I could also lessen my worries. But tell me, why doesn't it bother you that Naruto made the decision to become a Jinchuriki right on the spot, without giving it a thought? Said Sarutobi. Well, the thing is Naruto has no plans to become a Jinchuriki, and I believe he has some sort of plan to deal with Danzo. That is what worries me, but it makes me rest easy about Danzo at the same time. What Naruto must be planning about Danzo Itachi must be on it as well. Fukaku thought about it for a few moments. This brings us to the Shisui incident, he said. I think it will be fine if Danzo disappears. As long as we gain control of his forces, we cannot deny there will be a great power that will help the village. We can't protect Konoha from the inside when we know there's a throne on the inside. I wouldn't go that far, said the third. Above everything else, Danzo, wish what is best for Konoha. I know him well enough, and with the war looming, he will never do something to weaken his village. But he will make sure that Konoha survives and reign. Supremo for all. Jiraiya shook his head. His sensei was something else, still letting Danzo live after everything. That man was rotten, and even though he wished for Konoha good, he would do everything within his power to ruin any other relationship Konoha had with other villages, just to make sure it was on top. Let us talk about the war, Jiraiya said, a bit annoyed at how his sensei said that. But before that, how did Danzo get hold of such information? Why? Was it even kept a secret? Clan secret, said Minato. It was never a problem to begin with, and I still don't see it as a problem. I trust the work that was done there to say that the Kyuubi has no chance of escaping, but if the villagers find out, there will be a problem. Hiruzen felt a bit of pain in his heart, knowing that Minato chose to keep something away from him like this. He was still a Kage, just not active. He'd always share everything he had with Minato, but it seemed like Minato did not do the same. He did not hide that disappointment from his face. as Minato noticed it and responded. "Don't act like you don't keep things from me, Hiruzen," said Minato in a serious tone. "I know you only tell me things you think I have to know. And as I have said, this is a clan secret. You should understand that the Uzumakis are very strict with their secrets. I'm telling you, if they want to keep something secret, they can and will without you knowing. And they can keep things out. The second war must have taught them a good lesson," Jiraiya said in thought. "But that security did not keep Danzo out," he said. "He was able to sniff things out. Nothing is ever secure. But even if he find out, he couldn't do anything about it. In any case, the Kyuubi is secure. And we just have to worry about what Naruto will do. No one can take the beast without his permission. If he's not willing, then it is impossible, so it all depends on him. You should have not given Naruto that kind of power when you know what kind of person he is," said Sarutobi. "It was the clan that decided, and he takes his responsibility seriously. He might be an indifferent person, but he isn't that immoral, and he's guided by principles," said Minato. "Now, let us talk about measures to prepare for the war. It cannot be avoided at this stage. We have to fight and defend our village. Of course, what we seek is not total destruction of the enemy. What we seek is to end things with understanding, doing, and after. If Konoha had just defeated all of his enemies, war will continue over and over again. It will be pointless if they get in this war and shinobis die, and then a year or two after another war started. They had to find a way to end this." Later that day, when Minato appeared on top of the Hokage's monument, he smiled as he saw Naruto looking peaceful. Perhaps the only time you feel peaceful aura around him was when his sister was close to him. Minato had no doubt that Karin was the strongest attachment that Naruto had. There was no doubt that Naruto loved his sister. He knew there was no one else than Karin that Naruto loved the most. As Naruto was looking down the village, as Karin had her head rest on his lap, as Minato assumed that she was sound asleep, well, she does use a lot of energy during the day. Minato sat down. "Sorry to disturb your quiet time," he said. "You're not disturbing me," said Naruto. "I find a couple of seconds to enjoy these moments. I wish not to enjoy it too much." Minato merely shook his head. For some people, it's a good time to set their thought and reflect on their decisions. Sometimes to make a tough decision, you need a still mind to focus and think about things a bit more logically. But it doesn't mean you will always get it right. I am not some people. Yes, you are Naruto, said Minato. We have had less time together, and that makes it difficult for me to understand what is within your mind. You know, I get a lot of questions asked about you, and as your father, I want to be able to confidently answer them. If you can't answer, you should just refer them to me or tell them to mind their own business. As Naruto looked down towards Kushina, I assume you want to find out what Danzo has on me, or what has he done, or how he found out. Minato nodded. I don't know how he found out, but I will know soon enough. He doesn't have anything on me, you should know. I don't do blackmails. I would have snapped his neck if he was playing that kind of game, said Naruto. Two of his root shinobis got through the first barrier, and one of them was likely a mermaid. As he was speaking, he undid the bandages on his left arm and revealed the dark purple spots. Got poisoned, but Izumi has protected the rest of the arm, so the poison would not spread. Nevertheless, this is killing it. And from how the poison was stopped from spreading, I cannot use the arm. Minato faced loss all his life as he turned grim. So Danzo wanted Kyuubi for exchange, for the antidote to heal you. That is crafty of him. He must have studied your personality well. But he did. He made a mistake though. If there was no mistake, I would have given the Kyuubi, said Naruto. But, in any case, he won't get it. I have to say I was surprised that you got poisoned. For someone who was obsessed about defense in your younger days, you went about protecting yourself very well, said Minato. I had given away for attacks, said Naruto. You cannot fight fluently with chains over your body. The body feels imprisoned and moves are stiff. Besides, my jutsu was never made to counter such things. During the Chunin exam in Kumo, lightning got through. I know this. Perhaps something has changed. What, said Minato? I have become careless and arrogant in my power, thinking that I cannot be harmed by anyone. Well, that is unlikely. Arrogance. You never had that. Perhaps overconfidence though. Minato looked towards his son as he wondered what to do to help Naruto. Naruto's body was already under strain. He was already taking medicine to help his migraines. And after his borderless accident or he scorched his arms, Yoshino had to use her power to get him back in shape. And that came with great sacrifices on her side. Despite being Uzumaki's body had been through a lot, and he wouldn't last long if he continued to suffer like this. In training, Naruto has pushed his body to the absolute limits. Right now, he needed someone with some medical expertise. You should ask for Jiraiya to tell you the location of Tsunade. She's still the best medical ninja in the Elemental Nation. I would also like her return. This is a mission. Bring her back to the Hidden Leaf. Even if you have to use force. Minato paused as he thought that over. Well, maybe not force, he said. I will see to it when I return, said Naruto. I will be leaving Konoha tomorrow, before the sun sets. Where to, said Minato. Uzu, I need to get things ready. I have raised necessary funds. I just need the right people to start the project, he said. Time skip. Should you be carelessly strolling around the Elemental Nation like this? Jiraiya asked. They were nowhere in the Fire Nation as Naruto was strolling under a couple of trees. For Konoha Shinobi, it was risky to be moving around like this. The Fire Country was safe, but for the rest of the nation it was not. And Naruto had his reputation, no one would openly attack him without a plan to take him down, because they knew that they would die. Normal people didn't want to fight Naruto because they knew why. Well, he didn't leave prisoners. As Naruto did not stop, even when Jiraiya spoke to him. He continued to walk at a calm pace, as Jiraiya dropped down from the trees and landed by his side. Should I? If I shouldn't, I wouldn't be walking through this place, said Naruto, as he turned to face the road. Why, are you following me, Jiraiya? He asked. Jiraiya had an answer, but he just wanted to know. Where the hell was Naruto going? He had no connection in this part of the Elemental Nation. Minato told me that you went to Uzu to set up your project. Afterwards, you were going to look for Snatty. Thought I would follow you to get things done. As Jiraiya looked at Naruto for any kind of reaction, but there was none. As he was told about Naruto's condition, for someone like him who had so much enemies, it was dangerous. Oh, my father told you, said Naruto, and your question from earlier stems on your knowledge. You must be really excited to see your former teammate once again, said Naruto. I thought you would say I was asking because I was worried about you, said Jiraiya. Because that was the truth. While he was excited to see Tsunade once again, he was worried about Naruto in his condition. As Naruto looked towards Jiraiya, Jiraiya saw it. The look of indifference on Naruto's face, and his eyes that were partially open, a look of boredom in them. At least you're not the suspicious type that your sensei is. As Naruto looked ahead, I have other business to attend first. I phoned people to build my hotels and the right farmers, but there are materials, and I need people for that. You know, for someone who was known for his ignorance, you have really turned things around. At first, you wouldn't know where to find the right people for that, but right now it seems like you know where you're going. Who is supplying you information? Merchants, said Naruto. Do you know that most of them have no real allegiance in the lands that they do business with? They're simply in it for business. It wouldn't matter if I get services from a merchant that is selling in a hidden stone. That may be true, but even though you're doing business with them, they would betray you if someone offered them a better deal, said Jiraiya. That is simply business, said Naruto. I start to understand within business profits speak more than loyalty. I will not move with you as yet. I have other matters to attend first. More like you're trying to get rid of your boredom. You can get all the materials you want from Fire Country or the Land of Wave. You don't have to go this far or in enemy territory to make friends. That does not change anything. I don't wish to be in your company when I reach my destination. Given your direction, you're heading towards Kumo. You don't have a good reputation in that village, and the Raikai would more like having you attack than let you roam around freely. It would be a plus for him if his village was able to get rid of you. No doubt about that, him visiting there was a bit suicidal. The village did not like him, and he did not like the village as well. But he didn't really hate it, he was just indifferent towards it. But that didn't mean that he could enter and leave freely, especially when they were going to war with Konoha. The man had nothing to lose now. If he attacked Naruto, he was not risking anything, they were going to war. And if Naruto was skilled, that would just reduce Konoha's strength. There was no doubt that Shinobi Naruto was valuable than most. Something like that can happen, and given my situation, it wouldn't be too good. I don't have those escape jutsu that you specialize in, but it does not change anything. I will see what will happen when I do arrive in the village. What are you really gonna do? I'm going to collect my reward for my winnings in Chunin exams. There's a certain bet I made with the Kumo, Jinjulke. I want to see her now, and the fireworks between Konoha and Kumo will not get in the way of that. I will go with you, just in case, Jiraiya said. As Naruto looked at the man, and realized that he was serious. To make him go back, you'd have to fight him, and that would be rather troublesome. As long as you don't get in my way, you can do as you please. Jiraiya grinned. It will be like that time we went out on a trip. No, it won't, said Naruto. Time skip. Hidden stone. War was never something to look forward to. Aniki had saw war before, and a life that it ruined. Yet, even knowing that, he was looking forward to this one. Perhaps that came out wrong. He wasn't just some old man who was looking for war so he can see the bloody faces in the battlefield. This war would just bring an end to the tension that has been rising in the past few years. It was unbearable and the tensions were high. The only way to lessen them was the battle. But it wouldn't be his generation that would answer the questions of who ended this war. It would be Kurasaki's generation. Onki was sure that he wouldn't be alive after this one. He was already old enough and he had seen enough. This had to be his last war. Konoha had kept the villages from acting. There was no doubt about that. After all, he couldn't just send his man towards the village, knowing that it would be slaughtered. But things have changed. That is the reason why he was speaking and scheming with the likes of the Akatsuki and this four-eyed snake before him. Onki had never dealt with Orochimaru before. It was always Kabuto that appeared in front of him. Of course, he was just using him for information, and he would not waste the time of eliminating him after getting what he wanted. You should not make your thoughts so obvious, Tsuchikage, Kabuto said. Just from the way the old man was looking at him, he could tell what he was thinking. But the old man didn't care what he thought. I don't like you, Onki said. That is not going to change anything. There is no need to exchange smiles in the end. We're using each other to get what we want. Or at least what your master wants, said Tsuchikage calmly. Kabuto chuckled lightly. Well, that kind of tone was to be expected. The old man never hid his true feelings about anything. He was a stubborn, old man, but he was not stupid. That is indeed true. I have brought you something that you will like. Orochimaru-sama said if you are able to get it done, he will not hesitate to meet with you in person and share some of Konoha's military strength just before the war happens. What do you have for me, said Oniki. Konoha had new military activities in the fire borders, led by the Uchihas. I know that you have been trying to get rid of those Uchihas. As Kabuto knew that his master has been trying to get the Uchihas for their Sharingan, but Oniki just want to get rid of them, because their population boosted Konoha's strength a lot. I already know about that, Oniki said. That was something that was making him anxious because it would stop him from making some careless moves in the Fire Nation, because the Uchihas would be out there, having their guard posts. But if he played his cards right, things could turn out in his favor. If he worked out things perfectly, he could weaken a leaf and perhaps gain the Sharingan. I'm not surprised that you know. It isn't a secret after all, said Kabuto. But that isn't what I want to share with you. I have the location of the base and how to get in and out. If you get into their base, you get Uchiha Fukaku. That is one of Konoha's powerful shinobis. Take him out and you wound Uchiha and Konoha. The Uchihas are wooed by their emotions. If you get that done, they will look for revenge, and you can pick them off, piece by piece. That is just one minus problem for you, said Kabuto. What do you gain by this, asked Onki, as he narrowed his eyes at Kabuto. Kabuto merely smiled as he waved his right hand. You don't have to worry yourself about that. We will reap our rewards. Of course, it doesn't mean stabbing you in the back. We don't even plan on getting involved in a war. It doesn't even interest us one bit. Why then, asked Onki. Call it spite if you like. Orochimaru-sama doesn't like the Uchihas and you want them destroyed. If he could, he would lead the destruction himself. But you have the military strength and the connection in the form of the Akatsuki. Onki stared at the four-eyed name for a moment. It was interesting that he mentioned the Akatsuki, as he must knew that Oniki was gonna hire them to get the job done. He would just have to spend more money to get the job done. He wouldn't risk his own power against the Uchihas. Why don't you give the information to the Akatsuki yourself? Asked Onki. Well, we don't have a good relationship with them, and we were also hoping that the Uchihas could take down one of them. It wouldn't even be bad if they kill each other. You wouldn't mind, would you? Said Kabuto. Oniki considered his option for a few moments before responding. Not at all, he said. I've been using the organization for too long now, and it seems I've become dependent on their military power. The problem is they knew too much about my activities, and at the moment I don't know much about them. That will make it difficult if they become a problem that needs to be removed in the future. Kabuto smiled happily as he pushed his glasses up. I have information about them that you might find useful. He turned away from Oniki as he spoke. We shall trade for something valuable. I don't want the information back, but something else. Oniki snorted. He would only do that if he was forced. Kabuto was still too young to fool him. He would not be played by a brat. What about the information I requested on Naruto? Well, the most I can tell you is, what you think you know about him right now is nothing compared to the real deal. He is just a monster lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. I suppose his entire world has not seen his full power yet, and when that day truly comes, you will know. But at the moment I don't have any new information on him. But we will get it soon enough. Meanwhile, at Kumo. You don't have to look that disappointed, you know, said Jiraiya to Naruto. As Jiraiya could see the disappointment on Naruto's face, just because he didn't get what he was looking for. Apparently Yugito was out of Kumo, as she was on a mission. The redhead wasn't pleased to hear that. He had traveled all the way from Osa just to see her, and now he had to go home empty-handed. Well, he should have made sure that the person he was looking for was inside of the village. Something like that wasn't a problem for Jiraiya because he has his people out there and a network on where they are. And Naruto did not have that kind of network. Well, at least in the enemy territory. As Naruto looked at the bottle of water in front of him, he was trying to replace it with alcohol. But it was just bland water. I should have been with that woman. Well, life is unpredictable, said Naruto. I wanted to see her before we fight in this war. She's a Jinchuriki. I'm gonna face her once again. If you want to see her that much, you could have said so. I would have found out where she went. As Jiraiya was a bit surprised, as Naruto never showed that much interest in someone that was not closely related to him. He just did not care about other people. So to have him take much effort like that, well, it was something else. I know where she went, said Naruto. I spoke to one of her friends, a rather cold woman. I left a message for her. Tomorrow, I have to be focused on something else. As Jiraiya realized that Naruto was not falling in love or in love with Yugito, he just found her interesting, because the blonde was most likely, well, impassive to most things, and finding someone like her interesting, it draws his attention. It was possible that the redhead would never love someone, but just find him interesting enough to be around them. This could really explain his attitude towards him when he was not drunk. I see, said Jiraiya, as he looked outside the room that they were in. I'm surprised no one has come to us since we have been here. We got in on secret and my chakra has been suppressed, with a seal since we entered the village. A transformation that did a trick to make me look like a civilian. Given all your thought before we got here, I'm surprised that you actually choose to hide your appearance. This is the first time I'm seeing you doing something like that, said Jiraiya. I'm not suicidal, said Naruto. The Raikage would have made sure I was captured. And this is not the first time I'm doing it. You forget I was a member of Konoha military police force. Investigations sometimes force one to go undercover, so they can get the truth. Jiraiya was silent for a few moments. At least you learned some principle in the police force, he said. How well do you do with intelligence, he asked. As Naruto turned towards the man. What is the meaning of the question, Jiraiya, he said. You're no longer the ignorant person you was as a child. You take time to study things around you and focus. But I just have to confirm, is there really the existence of a Uzumaki secret service? Interesting, said Naruto the question. If we had something like that, then the Uzumaki clan would be an awesome clan. One that I would feel proud of leading. The clan heads always stay out of your clan's way, because they do not underestimate your power. You do not have any political power because you did not go after it, but yet your clan is still influential. Even with the death of the Sealand core members, you still hold respect. Many people thought the clan was weakened, but yet when you were being made clan head, all of the major power clan heads were there. Even his dislike of you did not stop him to be present. Hayashi was there. Shikaku was a Jonin commander, as well as Inuichi was there as well. Why do these people hold so much respect for your clan, even though on the outside your clan looked powerless? I sense a great mystery, said Naruto, as he was being rather vague. My clan is nothing more than a humble clan that love to be peaceful, said Naruto. Jiraiya snorted. That is completely different from your personalities, he said, but he did not say anything else on that part. In any case, I have my suspicions about your secret service. Secret service, huh? Said Naruto. It has a nice ring to it, but I'm not the kind of person for intelligence work. It requires you to think on your feet at all times, and that would be too much trouble, he said. Doing something like that would be out of character for you, but when you're forced to do things. But I've always been curious your clan only operate the barrier that protect Konoha, not run an intelligent unit. So why do clan heads continue to say that your clan knows more about what happened in the village, more than the Onbus and even the Uchihas? It shouldn't be possible unless you have other eyes watching over other things. Now that's interesting, said Naruto. Indeed, you, Uzumaki and Naruto, fear going up against the unknown. You don't want to fear anything you don't know in battle, because that would show a chance of you getting defeat. For you, defeat is death. So you would do anything to make sure that you know everything. You really have a lot to say, Jiraiya, said Naruto. But unfortunately, I do not. As Naruto went quiet after that, Meanwhile, at the Hidden Rain, the sins of the past were not forgiven. The action of the Hidden Leaf past was unjust, to him especially, and it was time that they reap what they sow. As it stood, the village had nowhere to run or hide. It had Kumo and some other small villages going against it. It was almost saddened to know that the Hidden Leaf was pitted against such a mountain. But Nagato did not care. Perhaps a part of him wanted the village to get destroyed. He could never forgive the village for its pain. But the Leaf had become too blunt in their peace after all they'd done in the past. They act like a good village, while their actions underneath show its true face. But despite the attacks that were raining down on it from Kumo and the stone, they have yet to do anything. The Hidden Leaf had been stalling. It was because of the fourth Hokage. Perhaps if it was someone else, they would have gone to war a long time ago. And for that reason, the god of the Hidden Rain did not know why they were stalling. We have another request from Tishikage, Konan said. As she walked towards Pain, who was looking down. He was standing on the balcony, as the rain was falling as he looked down towards the earth. He did not turn to face her as he spoke. Something that has to do with Konoha, I presume. That old man is really obsessed with the Hidden Leaf. Well, I cannot make any complaints because it's worked better for us. It actually accelerated our plans. By much, Konan said. Though we will have to continue mercenary for a while. It is fine, said Nagato. It won't be long before we take the central stage. Once the hidden villages start their war, we will make our move. For now, we can just focus on gathering the funds and strengthening ourselves. Our time will arrive and we will seize it with both hands to strengthen ourselves for the future. Konan nodded that she will always support him no matter what, as she was a pillar that held up his dreams. Her dream was to see his dream come true. Oniki wanted us to get rid of certain Uchihas stationed outside the Hidden Leaf. Zetsu has organized a hefty sum. We can demand any amount of payment we want, because he can turn to no one else but us. He also knows that we will succeed. That is why he decided to pay the large sum that we demanded. Nagato nodded as he continued. After the war, the village will be lacking in funds. He's using too much funds in his attempt against Konoha. It will be rather disastrous if they end up losing. The Hidden Stone might not even survive, and even if it does survive, it will be severely crippled. The Tishikage was thinking that Konoha would not come out on top in the war though. Well, considering the military power of both the Stone and Kumo, their chances weren't looking so bad. But Nagato was just waiting until the Jinchurikis were brought out to play, and he would take them. He could not afford to lose this one chance that presented itself in full view. The good thing about this chance is it makes things a lot more easy for him. If Kumo and the Stone win, they're likely to fight each other, said Nagato. Each of the hidden villages has its own agenda. They might work together for a while, but once it's done, they will stab each other in the back without mercy. But this is exactly why we must recreate this world and get rid of the current system. As he paused, given the Uchiha's might, we should send a team that is most suitable for them. Hidan and Kakuzu would do, but just for safe measures, Vader and Sorcery should be on standby. Konan raised the eyebrow. Nagato did not normally do things like this. He always sent a team to handle the mission, not two. He expected them to succeed, but now he was taking a precaution. Well, they were dealing with someone they never dealt with before, and they couldn't afford to lose any members at this stage. Time skip. Unknown location. So far, everything was moving slowly and smoothly, as Itachi was sitting down under a tree. Don't get too comfortable, Itachi, Fukaku said, as he walked towards his son. Their entire surroundings was swallowed by large, thick trees. It was a good place to place the base of operation. You never know when the enemy will strike. History has proven that repeatedly, said Itachi. But with the civilians and the border, it's unlikely that the enemies could hit us from behind without us seeing it coming. We have homegrown as well, which gives us time to prepare. Fukaku nodded, but we can never be too careless. If we become arrogant enough to think that just because we have the Hyugas and their so-called all-seeing eyes, that we won't fail to see an ambush coming, we will reap our regrets at the end of the day. We must always be vigilant. These are tough times. As he looked up, I was expecting Orochimaru to come at us with his teeth baring the moment we settle. He might be arrogant, but he's not stupid. Besides, given my last encounter with him, I doubt that he's very keen to come across us again in battle. He will be plotting for now, Itachi said. We will see him soon enough. Fukaku did not respond. He had already thought about that, and things inside his head was clicking and turning. When are you departing, he asked. When mother gets here, Itachi said. She should be arriving here in 3 nights. I informed her it was dangerous, but she said that she wanted to see her husband, and she would not take no for an answer. I was forced to divulge the location. Fukaku sighed. It is fine, he said. What are you planning to do with Danzo? If it was up to Naruto, it would be a slow, brutal death. But we cannot act now because Naruto wants to gather information about Danzo. We have come to the thought that even though he acts like a cripple, there is more to what he put on. And with how Naruto is about his opponents, he won't make any rash movements without knowing first. Fukaku nodded. Danzo isn't just some old man after all. There's a reason that he's been able to keep power after everything. But don't do anything reckless, Itachi. I hate that man. And I would kill him myself if the opportunity presents itself. But he's slippery like a snake. You must be careful when dealing with him. I will be, father, said Itachi, as Fukaku went quiet for a few moments. He then spoke. Have you thought about your own family, Itachi? Itachi blinked at the question, as he came out of nowhere. No, he said. There's a lot to think about, and to be planning something like that. You should think about it, Itachi. No one lives forever in this world. And with shinobis, we can die at any moment. Next month, I may not be alive. That happens. You have grown. There's nothing wrong if you start to prepare yourself. At least you will know you have something to live for. Something you will have to protect even after the war. Your desire to protect your village and clan is great. But what will happen when they will no longer need your protection? What will you do? With nothing to do, you'll become bored of life. Think, and have another dream that is not Konoha. If you do that, you would enjoy your life. Sasuke needs an example of that. If we do things right, his generation will not have to go through what or no facing. Even your own family will enjoy peace. But we cannot speak of that family until it happens. Family, huh? Itachi said. It is important. Naruto is careless, as one could be. But when it comes to family, nothing more is important. I do not know if I was a great father to both you and Sasuke, but I tried my best. And perhaps I was a bit too focused on pushing you on what I believe, and neglecting you as my son, above all. Itachi shook his head. You gave me everything I have, father. Sasuke might not think so, but because you were there for me, I will pass that on to him. I could not have wished for a better father than you. Time skip. A day later, 2 letters arrived for me. One from Naruto and one from the 4th Hokage, as they arrived at the same time even though they were not from the same location. What does the letter from Hokage say? Ayo asked, with a careful tone. As Mei looked up and looked towards the man, as her stare made him a bit uncomfortable. Normally, she would have said something about it, but the letter came with a bit of surprise that shocked her. Dear Mei, I hope this letter finds you in good health. I should have written to you a while back after my son returned with your message, but there has been a lot I had to deal with recently. I have a few things I wish to discuss with you, and I figure it would be best to speak to you in person. Within the letter, there's one of my special kunai. When you're in good shape to speak, please summon me so that we can speak. Yours, Minato Namikaze, 4th Hokage. Ayo blinked as he looked at his leader. There wasn't a problem that he wanted to speak in person after all. Some matters could not be spoken over letter. So, we're going to host the 4th Hokage. Should I make preparations for his arrival? There's no need, she said. Minato wouldn't be seeking anything. Minato was a rather humble soul and someone Mei liked very much. You can go, Ayo. I will speak to him alone, Mei said, in a firm tone. He didn't try to say anything else as he just nodded. The 4th Hokage wasn't an enemy of theirs. That man, he could let her alone with him, without any fear. As you wish, Mizukage-sama, he said, as he left the office. As Mei picked up the kunai, she had seen it before, when they had came here, as she grasped it. Without another thought, she threw it right in the center of the office, as he appeared in the blink of an eye. That was pretty fast, said Mei. What if it was someone else summoning you? Minato smiled as he faced the pleasant woman. Her smile was something else, but he did not think further than that. He was a married man, and Kushina would probably kill him for thinking other thoughts. I wasn't expecting anyone else to call me, he said, as he walked towards her decks. She got to her feet as she outstretched her hand. It's good to see you in good shape, Mizukage-sama, he said, as he shook her hand. Mei smiled. You seem fine yourself, she said. Please, sit. Minato nodded as he sat down in front of the decks. You're really a lot different from your son, she said. The only thing you seem to have in common is your good looks. Minato smiled. Well, a lot of people do say that. What do you think differentiated us? He was curious, but he just wanted to see if she knew, because he knew the difference. Naruto is a silent wind that wreaks havoc in the lands of his enemies. And at the same time, he can be a different, gentle wind that passes by. At the same time, you are a gentleman. a kind-hearted person and care for people around him. But yet you can also be a gentle storm. That's another thing we have in common, said Minato with a smile. Yes, I have a letter from him. Interesting that he's still thinking around his project even though the situation around him does not favor it that much. He does what he wants and he does not like anything around him dictate his decision. As Minato turned serious, I actually came here with some difficult news. I figured that much, she said. The Stone and Kumo are plotting to wage war against Konoha. It's gonna happen soon. Nothing needs to trigger it. I guess you can go as far as say that we're already in war with them. Their attempt to get you in their good books was to make sure that you don't get involved. Just as a hidden stand decided to stay neutral. There was never any plan for me to partake in war, she said. This village has just gotten through a civil war. I cannot afford to have my shinobis experience another one again. At the same time, knowing that you're going to be attacked while I protect my own back. She felt like she would betray his trust. As he and his son had come here and made sure to help them in the civil war, and yet she couldn't do anything to help him. You don't have to worry about that ultimately. Both of us are Kages, and we will make the choices that are good for our villages. Even my actions here was not based on doing what was right. It was not alone, but gaining Konoha a valuable ally. Kiri will not again partake in the war. You have suffered a lot. Partaking in a civil war for so long. We do not wish to get you involved, said Minato. Mei was shocked. He was not seeking help from his ally even if he had to fight the two great nations with his own village. If he was not the Hokage, Mei would have thought that he was crazy to think of something like that. However, I will require your assistance just in case things don't go to plan. Also, after the war, we will be heavily exhausted because we will be defending against two great villages. There's a chance that some of our smaller allies, in the form of Sans and other villages, might turn against us in our weakened state and try to take our power. Mei frowned at the thought. We're living in a very treacherous world, aren't we? You can't really say that you have an ally, friends, or willing to stab you in the back without a second thought. She shook her head. It is such a sad world that we live in. I really wish that it was different. It can be changed, said Minato firmly. Despite everything that we've been through, I really believe the elemental nation can change and go through without fighting. Most wish for a better world, but despite our wishes, things never seem to change though. Even so, I wish to change things. I just have to survive this war first. Even the famous fourth Hokage doesn't think he could survive. With everything Mei said, she was quite shocked to hear that. No one is invincible. I don't know what the Kazekage is thinking, but despite being Konoha ally, he hasn't shown any support. The stand heavily rely on Konoha for cheap supplies, and I'm sure if they get a chance to overtake us to make sure that they survive, they will take you without hesitating. So you want me to be your last line of defense, said Mei. He shook his head. I will be Konoha's last line of defense. Unlike the previous war, I won't be doing much fighting on the front lines. Perhaps my presence would end things quickly, I don't know. But the decision is that I will be Konoha's last line of defense. I want you to keep watch, keep your presence, just to tell anyone that's having funny thoughts that you have our back. Mei tilted her head. Given Kira location, it wouldn't be easy to get there on time. You want me personally to make an appearance, she said. This would sure scare anyone. I mean, even if Konoha is exhausted from a fight, it would not give up that easily to anyone. Anyone attempting anything would first have to fight. Minato nodded. Can you do it? That is all I request from you. I can do that, said Mei. I talked about your message with my council, and they had some funny ideas. In any case, we need something that is signed to other nations, that you are with Konoha behind it, said Minato. It was proposed that my son would be offered to you. Mei thought about it for a moment. That wouldn't be such a bad thing, she said. He's a rather interesting young man. I can't get my hands on the father, but the son is nothing less, she said, than his father. As she had a rather sly smile on her face, Minato cleared his throat. Anyway, Naruto said no to the marriage proposal. Mei frowned at that. Don't take offense in it, said Minato. He isn't really that interested in women. His excuse was that he was too young to be married. But overall, he doesn't have any thoughts of getting married because of the lack of care. I think he's incapable of doing so, said Minato, with a rather sad smile. It must be hard on you as his father, said Mei. At times, but he does have his moments. As indifferent as he is, he's still my son. And I know I can count on him on anything. Although he refused, I'm going to push for it. This would just be a political marriage. Nothing more, nothing less. We will break it after things have stabilized. I cannot ask Naruto to fall in love. That is close to impossible. I understand, Mei said. She didn't sound too happy though. This is a small favor I'm going to do for you. Who knows? Maybe I'll be a good influence on him. Minato smiled. Now, I just have to get him to agree to it. When it was first brought up, he refused in front of the other clan heads. Well, they did not push. Why? This certainly does Konoha good than bad. Why didn't they try to force him, she said. Because none of them can do that even if they wanted to. With the Uzumaki, it's their word that goes. It is far worse with Naruto because he doesn't like to be told what to do. Then how are you going to get him to agree to it? Minato closed his eyes with a smile on his face. I will get his sister to ask him to sweetly do it. Time skip. Lightning country. For some reason, Jiraiya felt it was safer to follow a certain path when leaving the village, hidden in the clouds, as he was certain that he had been spotted. One could not just walk in the enemy village, especially in tough times like these. The security had been increased to keep out spies. Naruto was not a spy, but he certainly knew how to hide himself from danger. No one is pursuing us, Jiraiya said. You sound like you just avoid a bullet, said Naruto. If we were really avoiding Kumo Shinobi, we could have taken a different route. This seems like we're heading towards some destination. Would you mind informing me? I don't like surprises. We're heading towards something, said Jiraiya. While you were sleeping last night, I went out to find where Yugito would have gone and what direction she might have taken. Since you bothered to come all the way here, I thought it would be a waste if you went back without seeing her. Who told you I was sleeping, said Naruto. Jiraiya blinked. He was sure that the redhead was sleeping when he left. Had he been fooled? Jiraiya shook his head, clearing his thoughts. We can take a different path if you wish. We won't find Tsunade in this port of nations. She's within the fire country. Let us, said Naruto. I don't fancy to deal with your former teammate, given the fact that it will be a hassle to make her do what we want. It will be difficult because his father requested that they bring her back to Konoha. You're just gonna leave it like that, said Jiraiya. I thought this would be good, seeing that you show effort in this Yugito woman. Don't read too much in what I do. You will confuse yourself, said Naruto. Don't tell me you had an ulterior motive for coming here. I know that you're not the one for scheming, Jiraiya said. I was really looking for a merchant, said Naruto. There's a certain man here with a good connection on the farming business. You can't simply farm without the people to sell to. I need the contact to get into business. I have no discrimination who I do business with. As long as it benefits the Uzumaki, it will be fine. Besides, by the time my project starts to bear fruits, the war will be over. Who knows, this kind of connection may prove vital to keep good relationship with other villages. Trade agreements can turn into some friendly benefits, said Naruto. Jiraiya was shocked that Naruto said something like that. You know, for a moment there I thought you cared about peace. But I didn't remember who you are, said Jiraiya. Naruto paused. Well, this had to happen, he said. We were still going towards the right direction, Jiraiya said. Even though he could not tell who it was, he was sensing a large amount of shock coming their way. But from Naruto's words, he was guessing the redhead was sensing Yugito. As the blonde Kumo Jinjulki landed, as she looked at Naruto with an emotionless gaze, she did not take a fighting stance despite facing an enemy. She just looked at him. The redhead smiled, eyes partially open. It wasn't a big smile, just a small smile. Yugito, he said, as he walked over to the blonde. She stiffened at his approach, but she remained impassive as he got closer. Naruto, she said, as he stood inches away from her. Not even defensive move or a slight twitch, Naruto said. She shrugged. If you do intend to take me, you'd have a difficult time doing so. I understand it'd be well for Konoha to remove one of Kumo Jinjulki, but you're not planning to do that, are you? Who knows, I had gone to Kumo looking for you, to claim my date. That was our bet, and I believe that I have won. As if you'd have given me the Harashin if you lost the battle. As she remembered her brutal battle with the redhead, it didn't give her any pleasant thoughts. It infuriated her. The humiliation had been large, but no one mocked her now since they knew who he was now. I'm an honorable person, said Naruto. I would have given to you if I had won. Anyway, the next time we meet, I shall take you out on a date, even if it's in the middle of the war zone. We shall take a break and have some fun, he said. Yugito looked at him like he was crazy. War was not something pleasant. How could he even say something like that? Why did he bother to look for her after all this time, especially given the looming war that was going to happen? Jiraiya thought if he allowed this to happen, it would be something good for Konoha and Kumo. Yugito was a good asset of the Cloud, and if the two of them were alive after the war, they could form a relationship between the Cloud and Konoha. That was the thought, and he liked the idea. He would even share it with Minato. It was a good plan that would work out both for Konoha and Kumo. Just like that, she said quietly. I would be doing a great service to my village if I managed to take one of you down. We're going to engage in war, and if I just let you go, the Raikage would be furious with me. Let us go, said Naruto, as he sounded rather amused. You have not captured us, and in this distance, it will only take me a second to neutralize you. It's the reason I got so close, dear. Well then, try it. And we will see if you can succeed, she said. He shook his head. I'm too much of a coward to try that, he said, with a wave of his right hand. As he turned away, don't forget what I said about our date. As she wasn't going to let him leave like that as she tried to grab him. But flames lit up behind him. As he turned, I apologize for that. Ever since recent events, I don't like people touching me without approval. My flames react unconsciously to defend me. But guys, we'll be in episode right here. If you want to next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification so you posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, stay tuned for those what tips coming your way, which I hope you guys will enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.